Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to start tonight singing Hinei Ma Tov, how good and how wonderful it is that we can be together, whatever form that is. Hinei Ma Tov u'manayim shevet rachim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am looking out at a sanctuary of empty seats, aside from Mark in the back, keeping the camera running. But I do not feel alone because I know that you and Jews across the country and around the world are celebrating Shabbat with us, lifting our voices in song, praying from the depths of our hearts to bring Shabbat holiness into the world and into our living room. And as we do this, I invite you to take in a deep breath. Just breathe in that Shabbat air. It's something rarefied and special. And we hope that you feel like your prayer space, wherever you are, is an extension of our sanctuary. Because wherever people do holy things, that's where holiness dwells. So we welcome in the Sabbath bride with Lecha Dodi. Okay, both. One. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. And now pick your favorite part. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. We now come together. Is that on? We now come together to enact the preparation of the ritual objects for Shabbat. If you want to go grab your candles at home so that we can all light the lights of Shabbat together, take a moment to do so. Maybe you had them ready already. But we'll say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And as we come to the Kiddush, I realize I'm going to need to hold three things in my hand at once. So I'm going to grab the foot pedal. Which will give you just enough time to get yourself a glass of wine or juice. We can say the Kiddush together to celebrate the sweetness of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim. When we embrace Shabbat, Shabbat embraces us, enveloping us in its warmth, filling us with gratitude, giving us permission to rest our weary hearts. It is not that we keep Shabbat, rather, Shabbat keeps us. We rise together for Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, 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 yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Barechu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Bless Adonai, who spins day into dusk. With wisdom, watch the dawn gates open. With understanding, let time and seasons come and go. With awe, perceive the stars in lawful orbit. Morning dawns, evening darkens. Darkness and light yielding one to the other, yet each distinguished and unique. Marvel at life. Strive to know its ways. Seek wisdom and truth, the gateways to life's mysteries. Wondrous indeed is the evening twilight. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. We come now to Shema, the watchword of our faith. You can close your eyes if you'd like, to help you feel a little closer to God, like it's just you and God. I have to look at chords. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We are seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levanecha vidibarta bam beshivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song. We join together in Micha Mocha, song that reminds us that there is no freedom without the crossing of a sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u panecha, okei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'gealo mi'al chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And we have a special guest voice.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, V'hamidenu shomenu leHayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomenu leHayim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomenu leHayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomenu leHayim. Save us for the sake of faith. Shield us from hatred, from sorrow and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomenu leHayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomenu
We thank Jacob Fishman for contributing some music tonight, and it's always nice to have somebody to harmonize with. We'll continue with V'shamru, as we give thanks for the gift of Shabbat. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot HaShabbat ledorotam, berit olam, berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashevi shavat vayinafat. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam, berit olam, berit olam, berit olam. We rise now for the Amidak. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel chasadim tovim v'konei hakol, v'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, umevi gula livnei v'neihem, lemha'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer umoshia umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol atah rav lehoshia, morid hatal. Mechalkel chaim v'chesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim. Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha baal geburot, umido melach, Melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai mechaye hakol Ata kadosh b'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelu chasela Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We are seated. Please join me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. We now have Shalom Rav, our song of peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon Leho HaShalom. Ki ata hu melech adon Leho HaShalom. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Come now to Misha Berach, and at a time when sickness not only affects us but controls so many of our lives, it's important that we keep those people in pain, in need of healing, those people who take care of them in our thoughts. If you are thinking of someone in particular this week, feel free to say their name aloud in the room that you're in. Let it fill the space. For all those names said and unsaid, we sing our prayer of healing together. of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai rofei hacholim, v'nomar Amen. Blessed are you, God, who heals the sick. We take a moment for silent prayer, either the prayer you know from the page or the prayer inscribed on your heart. Yehu leratzon imrefi v'hagyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai V'hagyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri v'go'ali v'go'ali. A long time ago, in a small village, there sat a brick synagogue at the top of a hill. For many years, it had served the villagers well. It celebrated with them when it hosted bar and bat mitzvahs and weddings, and it mourned with them at funerals and in the aftermath of pogroms. The little synagogue looked over the town each night with love and warmth for those who made their Jewish lives in it. And time went on like this, even as the synagogue grew older, its bricks covered in ivy. Still, it loved its village. One day, one of the school children from town came by to play on the hill. Sweating and tired from a day of play, the child turned to the synagogue and asked, "O synagogue, I am so tired from playing in the hot sun. May I have a few of your bricks to make something to sit on in the shade?" The synagogue was happy to help. "Of course, take a brick, take a few, and use them well, so you can rest and regain your strength." The child took a few nice-looking bricks from a corner of the back wall and headed off to find a shady place to sit. A few days later, the synagogue saw the village baker coming up the hill. He walked up to the building and said, "O beloved synagogue, I am repairing my oven so I can provide fresh bread to the people of the village. I just need 10 or 12 bricks, but I don't have the money. But you have plenty of bricks. I could just take some from this low wall over here." And how could the synagogue say no to the baker, who simply wanted to feed his family and the community that the synagogue loved? So the baker took his share of bricks, loaded them into a wheelbarrow, and headed back into town. And so it went. Every now and then a villager would come by and take a few bricks to prop up a table or patch up a windowsill, and things were fine. By some point, the synagogue had just a few low walls left, and people continued to pray and celebrate there, but only when the weather was nice. And then a soldier came by. He stood stiffly, arms at his sides, in front of the doors and saluted. "Synagogue, I need your bricks to finish building a fortress so we can fight the enemy." "Which enemy do you mean?" the synagogue asked. The soldier answered, "We'll figure it out when we see who's against us." And without even waiting for the synagogue to reply, the soldier put the remaining bricks in a big cart, leaving only the doors and the pews. And that's how it went. For good or for ill, people took the synagogue apart, using the bricks for their own needs, until the villagers looked up at the hill and the synagogue wasn't there anymore. No one could pinpoint the moment that it stopped being a synagogue. No one could really figure out who was to blame. Maybe everyone, maybe no one. But everyone could see that where once there was a synagogue, there was nothing, and the villagers could no longer celebrate or mourn. At this moment, the Jewish people are entering a period of mourning. On Tuesday night, we marked Rosh Chodesh Av, the beginning of the month of Av. The summer months of the Jewish calendar have only a few holidays, but they include one that most Reform Jews would only know about if they went to summer camp. Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, is a fast day that originally commemorated the destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem by the Babylonian Empire and the second temple by the Roman Empire. Over time, it has accumulated more and more tragedies for our people to remember. The ravaging of Jewish communities during the First Crusades, the expulsion of Jews from Spain during the Spanish Inquisition, even the first fatal steps that the Nazi Party took in carrying out their final solution, and so many others. On so many Tisha B'Avs throughout our history, the Jewish people watched their worlds crumble around them. But these destructions did not happen all at once. History moves incredibly slowly, and changes are more often incremental than seismic. A person makes a decision, a committee sets a policy, a bad growing season causes a grain shortage, people start losing their jobs, rumors spread around town. Each of these are small in scale, but combined and given time, they can lead to a crisis. Just like everything else, the destruction of the Second Temple didn't occur overnight. It was preceded by decades of incursions on Jewish rights, corruption of Jewish institutions, and erosion of Jewish values. Some Jews blamed the Romans. Other Jews blamed themselves for not having prevented it. How do we avoid having something like that happen here in the United States? How do we learn from our past? Let's look out our own windows first. What do we see? We see massive inequality between rich and poor, which very often can lead to violent uprising. Jews have very often been disproportionately successful in the societies in which they live. But when social order breaks down, we are often the subject of blame. 15th century Spain, 1920s Germany. I want to be clear. We don't live in Nazi Germany. But there are plenty of people being oppressed right now, and we should look out for the signs. For example, Twitter just had to ban 7,000 accounts for spreading conspiracies of Jewish control and sabotage of the world. Anti-Semitism is mainstream again, and that means hate is mainstream again. We know where this can lead. What else do we see? Suppression of the right to peacefully protest, and military tactics being turned on civilians. On the streets of American cities, unidentified officers in camo fatigues are putting protesters in unmarked rental vans. Even the mayor of Portland was treated like a criminal and tear-gassed. Not all protesters are peaceful, but even if you think these people should be arrested, is this due process? Are we making sure that our justice system remains just? The Jewish people have often been on the receiving end of punitive law enforcement. If we don't want it to come to us, we shouldn't want it to happen to anyone. We know where this can lead. The big dramatic moments, like the current standoff in Portland, and like the tragedies we commemorate on Tisha B'Av, are the culmination of long periods of incremental change. We lose a right here and there, and before we realize it, something unimaginable happens. And we let it happen. We let it happen when we ignore the signs, when we aren't paying enough attention. For Reform Jews, the message of the prophets is at the center of our call to action. But the prophets that we seek to emulate were not fortune tellers. They couldn't see the future. They were simply people who paid attention when justice was at risk of slowly being taken apart. They saw a Jewish nation losing sight of the just society God wanted them to build, the one written about in our sacred texts. Back then, most people were not that interested in listening to the prophets, but we should be interested, and we should respond to the call. This isn't just about politics. This is pragmatism for the survival of all the peoples of the world, including the Jewish people. We have a longer history than most to learn from. And we learn from our own history that when we close our eyes to small injustices, they become large injustices. And more often than not, those hurt everyone, including us. We have found ourselves looking up at that synagogue on the hill. And we know that it's still there, but its structural integrity is a lot more uncertain now. We need to keep our eyes on that hill, on our values, and on the daily events that threaten them. That is part of our prophetic mission, to be a light unto the nations, to live mindfully and compassionately, and to have the courage to see reality as it truly is. The reality is that all is not well in our world. If we can acknowledge that, we, all of us, can begin to repair it together. Shabbat Shalom. And right now we have a real bevy of announcements. There's a lot going on. Monday, July 26th at 7 p.m., we have the continuation of our 20s and 30s adulting series. It will be about how to decorate a space like a grown-up, which probably means I should get my posters from college framed or something. I think that's what they're talking about. On Tuesday, July 28th, the Sisterhood Happy Hour Zoom gathering with the incomparable Mahjong maven, Bonnie Wise. That is the 28th at 5:45 p.m. Wednesday, the 29th, we have the Romeo's Lunch Bunch on Zoom. They will be talking about the entertaining Western film. I mean, most films should be entertaining. The Ballad of Cable Hogue, which you can watch beforehand on any one of the streaming services that now control our lives. And likewise, the evening of the 29th at 7 p.m., I will be leading a session on Tisha B'Av. We'll be taking a deep dive into the Book of Lamentations as we explore how our ancestors mourned loss and how we can learn from that in our own day. As always, Torah study is tomorrow at 9:15, and we'll be here or on Zoom next Friday night, same time, because Shabbat comes every week. And those, I believe, are all of the announcements. We come now to the conclusion of our service as we rise for Aleinu, which is about our sacred mission in repairing the world. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kamishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo Ushemo echad. We are seated. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. As we come to the mourner's Kaddish, we turn our thoughts to those who have died in recent days and at this time in years past. Remember the recent deaths of Fred Merriam, Terry Medjbo, Sidney Feiner, Helen Kilberg, Eric Powers, Erwin Rovner, and Sheila Shear. And we commemorate the yahrzeits of Robert Anguilo, Samuel G. Arison, Fred Atlas, Bertram Barrett, Philip B. Brynan, Wayne L. Collar, Judy Coulter, Matthew Coulter, Louise E. Troff, Rena Egnatz, Irving Ehrlich, Robert Fleeter, Nellie Friedman, Louis Gobioff, Rose Gobioff, Sylvia Goldstein, Robert T. Hayden, Fred Hollander, Joseph Lanson, Susan Lanson, Rachel Rajninsky, Esther Levine, Raymond Lewis, Florence Lichtman, James Keenan Mengert, Rebecca Mensch, Sylvia Messerman, Edith Rifkin, Beatrice Schocken, Jermaine Seeger, Ezra I. Silver, Henry J. Smith, Minnie Smith, Samuel Solomon, Etta Stein, Melvin Stern, Eleanor Tepper, Jerome Thorner, Fred Urofsky, Barbara Jo Ward, Robert S. Wolf, and Edith Yesner. And to those names, we add the names of your loved ones, people you're thinking of. You can feel free to say their names aloud in your homes. We rise together as a community for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divarach hiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalav b'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam al'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudasha brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, Amen. We are seated. We come to the closing song of our service, Adon Olam, and I've been told that this one is an all-time favorite. So what could be bad? I have to remember the right one. This one. Adon Olam asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nira li'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kiklot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu ho Vehu yeh betifara, vehu yeh betifara, veyado afkid ruchi, be'etishan ve'ayira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira, Adonai li velo ira. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence lift you up and give you the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace. We say together, Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Hope you have a really lovely and relaxing Shabbat.